what we're looking to achieve by doing these webinars are two things really. Firstly, to try to replace some of the lost contact that we've had with customers over the last year for obvious reasons. We'd normally be at trade shows and road shows, etc., and visiting customers, where you'll have the opportunity to speak to us and ask us lots of questions, but we've not had that this year, so we're looking to try and find a way to replicate that as best we can. The other reason is to promote what the How-To Hub is. It's a part of our website we're dedicated to helping customers find lots of leaflets, help videos and information that will really go towards improving your embroidery. So check that out after the webinar if you've not already been on there. You'll find it on www.madeira.co.uk, and there's a little help section is on there. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to split the topics into three. Myself, Jane and Julia, we make up the sales team at Madeira. We're going to each take one topic. It'll be about 15 minutes each approximately, and there'll be some questions from yourselves. If you give us the questions via the Q&A section, which will be on the bottom of most of your screens. If you don't use the chat option though, because we're not on there, we'll be looking at the Q&A tab, so don't be on the wrong one if you do have a question. And we'll do our best to answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. If we don't get around to answering some of them, we'll come back to you with an email answer after the presentation. Okay, I think we'll be ready to start then, Jane, if you could start the first slide. I'll start off by talking about magnetic frames.
Okay.
That's just this will be the first slide, hopefully come up now. Okay, I'll talk about the differences between magnetic frames and standard frames in the next slide, but just to introduce you to a range of frames, we have three different types. We have a 10 centimetre by 12 centimetre frame, which is the smallest. We have 15 by 15, which is the most commonly used size. And we also have a larger frame, which is 28 by 32 centimetres. All the frames are supplied with adapters already for the different types of machine brand. And I'll go through how to, if you are interested in ordering, how to check that you're getting the right type of frame and adapters for your machine. But to achieve the best results, you'd always select a hoop size that's closest to the size of the embroidery that you're doing. That's always the best technique. So we can go to the next slide, please, Jane. Apologies, there seems to be a bit of delay here. We seem to be having a problem with Wi-Fi. Do apologise. I hope you understand there's still a lot of home working going on at the moment. Here we go. That's the next one coming up here. So what's the difference really between a magnetic frame and a standard embroidery frame? I think that's important to understand before we go any further. Now, I don't know whether you can see, this is a standard frame. There's two sections to it, and the bottom smaller section has a little adjuster screw. Now, the idea of that is you adjust that depending on the thickness of the fabric that you're trying to frame up. So if it's a thicker fabric, you'll need to slacken the screw so that you can actually then squeeze the pieces of the frames together. If it's a thinner fabric, you would tighten the screw. So the idea of that is you actually pushing and forcing the two pieces together. Now, with a magnetic frame, it's rather different. They grip together with strong magnets, so there's no need to have a screw to adjust the bottom part of the frame. So you'll hear this, hopefully, I'll give you a shot, which it's a very loud snap with the magnetic frame because the magnets are really, really strong. So that's the sort of main difference in how they actually fit together and hoop up. The good point about the magnetic frames is the fabric isn't overstretched, and it doesn't leave a hoop mark or a burn mark as it's referred to. That's eliminated because of the way that you attach the two together. So I'll go through some of the benefits on the next slide, please, Jane. Okay, there's lots of benefits. The first one at the top there is that they're good for framing over seams, pockets, and zips. Now, a standard frame would struggle to frame over anything like a zip or a pocket because it simply won't be able to push the two pieces together. It'll pop up out one side and in the other, and it just won't grip it very well. Whereas a magnetic frame, because the grip is strong all the way around, they can just go over anything like pockets and zips without a problem. They're also perfect for thicker garments. So if you imagine body warmers, fleeces, coats, anything like that you may have struggled with in the past, they're really good for those types of fabrics. Again, thick trouser pockets, etc., bags, anything a little bit thicker, they're very, very well suited to take on those jobs. Like I said before, there's no adjustments needed, so that's a major benefit, because depending on how experienced you are or your staff members are at trying to judge the adjustment needed on the little screw, you can have some varying degrees of results really. If you're trying to embroider a thicker garment and you've unscrewed too much, so it's a bit too loose, that could pop off during embroidery, which obviously wouldn't be ideal, to say the least. The next one there is one of the major benefits, really. It doesn't leave hoop marks. Now, because the way it's sandwiched between on the traditional one, the fabric, it leaves that nasty sort of ring mark, especially notice it on darker garments such as sort of navy and black polo shirts, hoodies, that sort of thing. So if you've got customers that wouldn't really want to accept the delivery of their new items with the ring mark around them, what you have to do, you probably found, is sort of spray them, wipe them, just get rid of that hoop mark after you've done the embroidery. And that's all very time consuming. So by using magnetic frames, it takes away the need for having to do that process of removing a hoop mark after the embroidery. The next one there is it avoids repetitive strain injury. Now, what I mean by that is that you do hear a lot of people who do embroidery of complaining of having sore wrists and hands from having to push the two pieces of a traditional frame together, and arms even, and shoulders I've heard people complaining about. So by letting the magnets do the work, you're not having to push those two pieces together. It does stop you getting sore wrists and hands, and stops that chance of having a repetitive strain injury. And the bottom one there is it saves valuable time. It's so easy to frame up with a magnetic frame. You save all those time, the time messing around trying to adjust the screw for the right fabric, and also getting rid of the hoop marks. So it's a big time saver. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, sorry for the delay between us. Okay, let's look at the product range in a little bit more detail. The 12 by 10 centimeter frame. Now, where would we see this being used? This is really useful for things like blazer pockets. Obviously, if you've ever done blazers, if you do, you're on the schoolwear market, you'll notice that there's a little hidden zip where you can slide the inside part of the frame into there. This size works really well for that, where you can slide that in underneath the pocket and frame it really neatly. Also, if you're going over, if you've got some smaller areas of bags, for example, you on the right hand side there, it's very useful, this size for those sort of jobs. Now we have adapter bars to fit most machine brands. Let's look at some of the ones we have here. We have Baradon, we have the Brother PR series, Happy, Melco, SWF, Tajima, ZSK. Now we have them for most of these. There are certain machines that you may find that we don't. So we don't cover every single machine type. So it's worth checking with us before you make the purchase that the frame and the adapters are going to fit your machines. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter frame. This is by far the most popular frame size that we sell. It's the standard frame size for left chest, right chest logo, etc. So we do a lot of this size. A couple of good photos there to give you some ideas of the types of products that these frames can handle. There's karate belts that are notoriously difficult to embroider. this is a good solution to hoop those up. And also on the right there, you've got horse blankets and numbers. Now they are really difficult to frame, the traditional frames. I'd say near enough impossible. So to have an option there that you can say yes to those jobs is really appealing for a lot of embroiderers. And the size frame that can be used, this size frame here can be used with our fixing mount and our sort of our system for making embroidery easy, which I'll show you later on. So when we get to that point, you'll see that system in action. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is the largest frame that we do, the 26 by 33 centimeters. This is a really useful size for doing the backs of garments, sort of backs of hoodies, coats, etc. As you can see from the photograph there. This can be used various different fabrics, just the same as the other frames. It's got the same strength of magnets, so it'll grip through all sorts of different garments, but it's just handy having a bigger size frame to do those difficult big jobs with. Okay, next slide, please. So one thing to actually say on that last frame is that we've only got it at the moment in Happy and Tajima. They're the only sort of two machines that we do have adapter bars for that larger frame at the moment. Now then, when you come to if you're thinking about placing an order and you want to know whether your machine, we have the frames to fit your machine, the way to check is to actually measure the arms of your machine. So if you can see on the photo on the right there, the red line between the two arms, that distance there, that measurement there will relate to what we have at our end. So if it's 350 millimeters, for example, you'd tell us that, and we'd let you know whether we have it to fit that size machine. Alternatively, you can simply measure an existing frame that you have from end to end, and that gives the same measurement. Melco machines, they do have adjustable arms, so that can vary. So you're always best, if you're not sure, if you can't tell from our website, to give us a call and we'll advise you as to whether we've got them to fit. Okay, next frame, please. Okay, I mentioned earlier we have a hooping aid. So this is called a station board and fixing mount. Now, what this does, it enables embroiderers to line up the position of the embroidery accurately time and again. So if, for example, you have 50 left chest medium sized polos to do, it's a really good way of getting all those embroideries exactly in the same spot on every single one of those 50 garments. If you're an experienced embroiderer, this might not be something that's necessary for you, but if you or some of your staff members are new to it, this could be a really good tool to make sure that they get those positions right. So you can see there from the board on the left, the piece to the right of that, which we call a fixing mount, attaches to the board and moves around into different positions, depending on whether it's a small, medium, large, or extra large, and whether it's on the left or the right. You can move that around into the right position. There's a video next which will show you how that works. But what I would say is that this is a really useful tool, but the majority of our customers don't always necessarily need this tool. So it's not something you have to use magnetic frames. Magnetic frames can be useful with or without this system, but it is a nice system, especially if you're not as confident at framing up. So we'll have a video on the next slide which will show you how that works.